What if the biggest surprise in Outlander Season 8 Episode 9 is not Jamie's fate, but Claire finally meeting her father again after all these years? Honestly, after everything the show has been setting up with time travel, gemstones and blood of my blood, I feel like we are heading toward one of the most emotional moments in the entire series. Episode 9 already looks intense because of the Battle of King's Mountain, Lord John Grey's kidnapping, and Jamie possibly risking his life once again. But I don't think the real focus of this episode will only be the war. I think the real shock is going to be connected to Claire's family and the mystery that has followed her since the very beginning of Outlander. And if the theories are true, then Claire may finally come face to face with her father in a moment that could completely change the ending of the show forever. The craziest part is that Outlander has actually been quietly preparing for this twist for a long time now. Especially after the teaser for Blood of My Blood and all the recent time travel hints. It feels like the writers are building toward a major crossover between the two stories. And honestly, if Claire really meets her father before the finale, I don't think fans are going to survive that scene emotionally. First, we need to talk about why this theory suddenly feels possible now. For years, Claire's parents have remained one of the biggest mysteries in Outlander. We know they died when Claire was very young after a car accident. And because of that, she was raised by Uncle Lamb. But the interesting thing is that the show never explored her parents deeply. And in a series filled with hidden secrets, timelines, and destiny, that always felt suspicious to me. Outlander usually does not ignore important details, unless they are meant to matter later. Now with Blood of My Blood focusing heavily on Claire's family story, it finally feels like we are getting closer to answers. And episode May 9th be the moment where everything starts connecting together. If you watched the recent teaser carefully, there were several moments that looked emotionally connected to Claire herself. The atmosphere felt nostalgic, tragic, and mysterious at the same time. And honestly, it almost felt like the show was preparing us for a reunion that should be impossible. That is why I think Claire's father could appear through time travel in episode 9. Not as a memory, not as a dream, but as a real person standing in front of her. What makes this even more interesting is the fact that Outlander has been focusing so much on time travel rules lately. In episode 8, we saw more hints connected to gemstones and the buzzing sound again. Fanny hearing the buzzing was a huge moment, because it confirmed that the ability to travel through time may be more common than we originally thought. And if Fanny can travel, then honestly, almost anything is possible now. I also think the writers are intentionally expanding the mythology before the series finale. They want us to understand that time travel is not random anymore. There are connections between families, emotions, and even destiny itself. And that brings us back to Claire's father. What if Claire's parents were connected to time travel long before Claire even knew about it? What if the accident that supposedly killed them was not really an accident at all? Honestly, the more I think about it, the more suspicious their deaths become. We never saw what really happened. We only heard the story from Claire's perspective when she was a child. And Outlander loves revealing that the truth is much bigger than what characters originally believed. I think episode 9 could reveal that Claire's father somehow survived and became trapped in another timeline. Maybe he traveled accidentally. Maybe someone helped him. Or maybe he spent years trying to find his way back to Claire but failed because he did not fully understand how time travel worked. That would explain why Blood of My Blood exists in the first place. The prequel may not only be telling a new story, it could actually be setting up the final emotional twist for Outlander itself. And honestly, if Claire suddenly meets her father while preparing for Jamie's possible death, the emotional impact would be unbelievable. Imagine Claire feeling completely broken after everything happening around her. Jamie heading toward war. The fear of losing him forever. The chaos surrounding the rich. And then suddenly she sees a man she thought she lost as a child standing in front of her. I honestly think that moment would completely destroy Claire emotionally. And the saddest part is that Claire probably still carries years of pain from losing her parents. Even though she rarely talks about it, those wounds never really disappeared. Another thing that makes this theory stronger is the way Outlander keeps connecting love and time travel together. Almost every major time traveler in the story travels because of love, loss, or family. Claire traveled back to Jamie. Roger traveled for Brianna. Buck traveled searching for answers. And now I think Claire's father may have spent years searching for his daughter across timelines. That would fit perfectly with the emotional themes of the show. Outlander has never just been about history or romance. At its core, it is about people refusing to give up on the ones they love no matter how impossible the situation becomes. And honestly, I think the writers want the ending of this story to reflect that idea in the biggest way possible. That is why I don't think Claire meeting her father would happen randomly. It would happen at the exact moment she needs hope the most. At the same time, I also think this reunion could reveal shocking truths about Claire herself. What if her ability to time travel is much more important than we thought? What if her parents already knew about the stones before Claire was even born? Blood of my blood may finally explain why Claire was always connected to the past in the first place. And if her father appears in episode 9, he could reveal secrets that completely change how we see the entire story. Honestly, imagine him telling Claire that her destiny was never accidental. That everything happening to her was part of something much larger. I think a reveal like that would completely change the emotional direction of the finale. Because suddenly the story would no longer only be about surviving war or escaping history. It would become about understanding why Claire's journey started in the first place. And knowing Outlander, they would probably deliver that reveal in the most heartbreaking way possible. Now if Claire really does meet her father in episode 9, then the biggest question becomes this. How exactly does it happen? Honestly, I do not think this reunion will happen in a simple or normal way. Outlander has always treated time travel as something emotional, dangerous, and unpredictable. Every single time someone travels, there is always pain attached to it. And because of that, I think Claire's reunion with her father could happen during one of the darkest moments of the episode. Most likely after the Battle of King's Mountain begins. As we already know, Jaime is preparing himself for war once again. Even though Claire desperately wants him to stay away from it. And honestly, the way the promo was edited made Jaime's situation feel extremely dangerous. There is this heavy feeling hanging over the entire episode, almost like the show is warning us that someone important may not survive. That is why I think Claire will be emotionally devastated before this reunion even happens. She could believe Jaime is dying, or maybe already dead. And in that moment of grief and desperation, something impossible could happen near the stones. One thing I noticed is that Outlander keeps bringing up destiny more and more during this final season. Characters constantly talk about fate, unfinished journeys, and people being connected across time. And honestly, I do not think that is accidental anymore. I think the writers are preparing us for major time travel events before the finale. Especially now that gemstones are becoming such a huge focus again. In episode 8, Fanny hearing the buzzing sound was probably one of the biggest clues we have gotten in a long time. Because that moment confirmed that new travelers are still being introduced right before the story ends. And honestly, I think Fanny's storyline could secretly connect directly to Claire's father. Imagine this for a second. Fanny becomes curious about the gemstone she found, and tries to use it without fully understanding the danger. Claire realizes what is happening and rushes after her before something terrible happens. And somehow, during that moment near the stones, another traveler appears. Claire's father. Honestly, a scene like that would fit Outlander perfectly because it combines emotion, mystery, and family all at once. One thing I noticed is that Outlander keeps bringing up destiny more and more during this final season. Characters constantly talk about fate, unfinished journeys, and people being connected across time. And honestly, I do not think that is accidental anymore. I think the writers are preparing us for major time travel events before the finale. Especially now that gemstones are becoming such a huge focus again. In episode 8, Fanny hearing the buzzing sound was probably one of the biggest clues we have gotten in a long time. Because that moment confirmed that new travelers are still being introduced right before the story ends. And honestly, I think Fanny's storyline could secretly connect directly to Claire's father. Imagine this for a second. Fanny becomes curious about the gemstone she found, and tries to use it without fully understanding the danger. Claire realizes what is happening and rushes after her before something terrible happens. And somehow, during that moment near the stones, another traveler appears. Claire's father. Honestly, a scene like that would fit Outlander perfectly because it combines emotion, mystery, and family all at once. What makes this theory even stronger for me is the fact that Outlander keeps bringing family stories back into the spotlight right before the finale. We are seeing old relationships repaired, hidden truths exposed, and emotional reunions happening everywhere. Jamie and William finally started healing their relationship. Brianna and Roger continue fighting to protect their family. Even Lord John Grey's storyline is becoming more emotional because of betrayal and loyalty. So honestly, Claire finally confronting the pain connected to her parents feels like the natural next step for the story. Especially because Claire is usually the one helping everyone else emotionally while ignoring her own trauma. But now I think the show is finally forcing her to face that pain directly. And if her father appears, it could completely break the emotional walls Claire has built around herself for years. I also think Jamie will play a huge role in this reunion if he survives the battle. And honestly, that is one of the reasons why this theory feels so powerful emotionally. Jamie understands loss better than almost anyone in Outlander. He knows what it feels like to lose family, lose years of your life, and believe you will never see someone again. So if Claire finally reunites with her father, Jamie would understand exactly how meaningful that moment is for her. And honestly, I can already imagine Jamie quietly stepping back and allowing Claire to have that emotional moment without interrupting it. But at the same time, I also think Claire's father may instantly realize how much Jamie means to her. Maybe he sees the way Claire looks at Jamie. Maybe he understands that Jamie became Claire's true home across time itself. And honestly, that could lead to one of the most emotional conversations in the entire series. What makes this theory even stronger for me is the fact that Outlander keeps bringing family stories back into the spotlight right before the finale. We are seeing old relationships repaired, hidden truths exposed, and emotional reunions happening everywhere. Jamie and William finally started healing their relationship. Brianna and Roger continue fighting to protect their family. Even Lord John Grey's storyline is becoming more emotional because of betrayal and loyalty. So honestly, Claire finally confronting the pain connected to her parents feels like the natural next step for the story. Especially because Claire is usually the one helping everyone else emotionally while ignoring her own trauma. But now I think the show is finally forcing her to face that pain directly. And if her father appears, it could completely break the emotional walls Claire has built around herself for years. I also think Jamie will play a huge role in this reunion if he survives the battle. And honestly, that is one of the reasons why this theory feels so powerful emotionally. Jamie understands loss better than almost anyone in Outlander. He knows what it feels like to lose family, lose years of your life, and believe you will never see someone again. So if Claire finally reunites with her father, Jamie would understand exactly how meaningful that moment is for her. And honestly, I can already imagine Jamie quietly stepping back and allowing Claire to have that emotional moment without interrupting it. But at the same time, I also think Claire's father may instantly realize how much Jamie means to her. Maybe he sees the way Claire looks at Jamie. Maybe he understands that Jamie became Claire's true home across time itself. And honestly, that could lead to one of the most emotional conversations in the entire series. But honestly, I do not think Claire meeting her father will be the only emotional shock in episode 9. I think this reunion could also completely change Jamie's storyline in ways nobody is expecting. Because while everyone is focused on the Battle of King's Mountain and whether Jamie survives, I feel like the writers are secretly building towards something much deeper. Especially after episode 8 gave us so many emotional setups at the same time. Lord John Grey's kidnapping, William finally opening his heart to Jamie, Fanny discovering the gemstone, and all the blood of my blood connections. None of these storylines feel random anymore. Instead, it feels like every single plot is slowly moving toward one massive emotional climax before the finale. And honestly, I think Claire's father may become the person who finally helps Claire understand Jamie's true destiny. One thing that keeps bothering me is the way Outlander has been talking about death lately. Almost every episode now feels filled with warnings, emotional goodbyes, or conversations about fate. Even Jamie himself seems different this season. He feels calmer, almost like a man preparing himself for whatever comes next. And honestly, that scares me. Because usually when Outlander starts giving Jamie peaceful emotional moments, something devastating follows right after. That is why I think episode 9 could put Jamie closer to death than ever before. During the battle, I believe Jamie may get seriously injured while trying to protect William or Lord John Grey. And if that happens, Claire's emotional state could completely collapse. Imagine Claire believing she is about to lose the love of her life forever, only for her father to suddenly appear during that exact moment. Honestly, the emotional weight of that scene would be unbelievable. Claire would be caught between the pain of possibly losing Jamie and the shock of seeing someone she thought died decades ago. And this is where I think things become even more interesting. What if Claire's father already knows something about Jamie? As crazy as it sounds, Outlander has played with destiny so many times that I would not even be surprised anymore. Maybe Claire's father learned about Jamie while traveling through different timelines. Or maybe he already knows that Jamie is the man his daughter was always meant to find. Honestly, imagine Claire introducing Jamie to her father while Jamie is badly wounded after battle. That scene alone could emotionally destroy the audience. Especially because Jamie has always carried this fear deep inside that one day Claire may leave him behind forever. Even after all these years together, there is still a part of Jamie that feels insecure about time itself taking Claire away from him. So seeing Claire reconnect with her father while fighting to save Jamie's life at the same time would create such a powerful emotional conflict. I also think Claire's father could become the key to understanding the blue light healing ability more clearly. As you know, the show has slowly been expanding the mystery around Claire's powers, especially after she used blue light to save Mr. Whittaker's baby. That moment felt incredibly important, almost like the writers were introducing a much bigger storyline connected to healing and time travel. And honestly, I do not think they would include something that huge near the end of the series unless it was going to matter again soon. So what if Claire's father explains that this ability has existed in their family for generations? What if Claire inherited more than just the ability to travel through time? Honestly, that would explain why Claire has always felt different from other travelers. She does not just survive history, she changes it. She heals people. She saves lives that should have been lost. And maybe her father knows exactly why. Another thing I keep thinking about is the return of older characters through visions or near-death experiences. We already talked about how several important names appear connected to episode 9. Characters like Murtagh, Dougal, Jenny, Frank, and Gillis all seem tied to Jamie's emotional journey somehow. And honestly, I think Jamie may experience something very similar to what Claire experiences with her father. If Jamie is seriously wounded during battle, we could see him standing between life and death while surrounded by people from his past. Honestly, Outlander has always loved emotional spiritual moments like that. And if Claire is simultaneously reconnecting with her father while Jamie faces death, the episode could become one of the most emotional hours in the entire franchise. At the same time, I think William's storyline is going to become extremely important here too. Episode 8 finally allowed William and Jamie to move past some of their anger, but I still feel like there is unfinished emotional tension between them. William spent so much time feeling betrayed and confused about his identity that he never fully understood how much Jamie sacrificed for him. But if Jamie risks his life saving William during the battle, I think everything could finally change. Honestly, I would not be surprised if William becomes the person desperately trying to save Jamie after the battle, while Claire struggles emotionally because of her father's return. And imagine how powerful it would be if Claire's father witnessed all of this. He would see the kind of man Jamie truly is. A man willing to sacrifice everything for the people he loves. Now let's talk about Blood of My Blood again because honestly, I think episode 9 is going to connect directly to the spin-off in a huge way. I still believe Henry and Julia may accidentally arrive in Claire's timeline instead of their own. And if Claire's father appears too, then suddenly we could have multiple timelines crossing together at the same moment. Honestly, that sounds exactly like the kind of chaos Outlander would create before ending its final season. And if that happens, Claire may finally begin understanding how connected her entire family truly is across time. Not just emotionally, but literally. Generations of travelers connected through love, sacrifice, and destiny. But honestly, the part that scares me the most is this. What if Claire's reunion with her father happens because Jamie actually dies temporarily? As you know, many fans believe Jamie could experience a near-death state before Claire somehow brings him back. especially after all the blue light hints. So imagine Claire emotionally collapsing after losing Jamie during battle. Then suddenly her father appears and helps guide her emotionally through that pain. Maybe he reminds her not to give up. Maybe he helps her understand the true power she carries inside herself. And maybe that becomes the reason Claire is finally able to save Jamie. Honestly, if Outlander ends up connecting Claire's father, time travel, and Jamie's survival all together in one storyline, I think fans are going to lose their minds completely.